What's going on, guys? Tonight I'm going to talk about a modification I've just done with my Tikka T3 to the stock. Previously I've shown the Kydex cheek rest that I've installed on it, and I had a local holster maker help me with that. That is Litton Custom Holsters. He's based out of Utah. He's on Facebook, or you Google him, he'll come right up. So be sure to check into that. So he helped me do a Kydex cheek rest for my Tikka T3, and then we just drilled straight through the composite stock, and I put some wing nuts with just a flat-faced bolt running through there, and it turned out pretty sweet. Problem is, when I get out in the desert and I go prone, my butt pad was sitting a full inch below where my cheek rest was, and when I go prone, my rifle's trying to point up just a little bit from where I'm laying, and I couldn't get a good purchase on the rifle in my shoulder pocket, and it was really bothering me. So what I decided to do is take off the butt pad and see if there was some way I could modify it, and I came up with a solution. So let's check it out. I'm going to show you the completed rifle, and then I'm going to kind of walk through the process of installation and just give an idea of what I did to accomplish it. So here it is in its first form. I'm definitely going to paint the silver bracket hanging out right here. I'm going to paint that brown just like the hardware and the cheek rest. I'm probably going to trim the Kydex as well, but I just installed this like 5 minutes ago, and I just kind of wanted to make a video about it. So at this point, I'm going to tear it all apart, and I'm going to show you how I install it. Okay, so this is the typical Tikka setup. You got your butt pad on here with just a straight top stock. You just reach into these two holes, and there's just a screwdriver in there. It's a Phillips head. That comes out. It's going to have some hardware sticking out. And then inside your stock, it's got this little grill plate. If you grab this with a pair of pliers, it'll be pressed in there a little bit. This plastic piece comes out. So I had to modify this plastic piece so that I could have some hardware sit where that center piece was. So in the Tikka, it's got your factory screw mounts right here. They're kind of hard to see in this lighting, I apologize. But there's two screw mounts right here, and those are integral to the stock. They go all the way in, and they're molded in, and they're one piece. So what I did is I had one of my good friends help me make this metal plate, and he was able to get a good contour for it. And then we drilled the factory, we drilled holes for the factory screws to go in and hold this plate like it's the butt pad. Then we cut holes 1 inch higher so that the butt pad could sit an inch above where the factory mounts were. So effectively, this bracket is mounting my butt pad 1 inch higher up where I need it, so it goes in line with my cheek piece. So the first step to putting my gun back together is going to be this, and this presses into the stock, and basically it just adds more rigidity so your stock is less likely to be crushed. And like I say, this just pushes in, and it's in there. It's ready to go. This doesn't mount in or anything, but I did have to cut out one of these center supports to accommodate a screw head to sit up against it flush. So now I have interchanged the hardware that is in the butt pad. From the factory, Tikka sends it with these screws, and then these rubber holes hold the screws in, and then this is what drills into the stock. So I've taken these out, and I've installed just some small machine screws because there's not an immense amount of force being pulled on a butt pad. It's always going to be pushed against, so I'm really not worried about having a whole bunch of metal there. Alright, now something interesting about this, because the plate has to be mounted, but the pad has to be mounted as well. It's kind of a mount one piece, mount both screws, and then twist the pad and put it back on. So I'll show you that process. There's the machine screw in there. I've just got to get that to bite into the plate. And there it goes out the back side. Now I've got a small little nut and lock washer on there that I can put on. And it's just like real small hardware. This stuff is like just over 1/8 of an inch, I swear. And so this stuff's good and small. Now I need this plate and the butt pad to be able to swivel from each other, because I'm going to mount the plate to the gun with these two lower holes. To put that on the stock, I can't have this covering it up. So at this point, it's time to throw some screws through these two holes, and it will mount onto the gun. So here we have the bracket. I did countersink this just a little bit. I took a steel screwdriver bit, and then I just zipped my drill while I was in there, and because it's aluminum, it's a little bit softer. The steel started chewing through it. So let's go ahead and pre-thread this, and then let's pre-thread the bottom, and then let's drill it together. Let's run that through. There it goes. Now it's time to be mounted onto the stock, which goes right in those factory screw holes. And then let's just go ahead and buzz those with a drill. I'm definitely careful not to try and tighten these up too much. I realize that it's just plastic holding it in there, and I'm going to kind of work both ends here. That thing's in there nice and solid, not going anywhere. So one of the issues I ran into, why I had to modify this butt pad on the inside, as you can see there, I had to cut a big chunk of the plastic support out of that butt pad. And the reason for that is because of this screw head. So as I rotate that butt pad on for it to sit flush, I needed to remove plastic, and it will sit down on there like that, and it's going to be flush. Let's go ahead and take the upper screw and buzz that in. That's ready to go. I'm going to take my little lock washer, slip that on there, and just tighten this little guy up. And because they're so small, these pliers have some real aggressive teeth on the end. And this can all be done with really simple at-home tools. I definitely don't have a huge tool selection out in my garage, and I seem to pull it off. So at this point, the butt pad has been moved up a full inch. It's good and solid, there's no wiggle to it, and there's no issues at all. So I'm real happy with how this project turned out. At that point, I kind of wanted to hide this hardware and just kind of cover up the not super flush, totally hack job redneck look. So I took my cheek rest, which was originally mounted in these two holes. I scooted it back so that the cheek rest would cover up part of the butt pad, and then I had to re-drill my stock. So this thing looks like Swiss cheese at this point, and I don't really care, because later on I will be buying a chassis, and nobody's looking for these Tikka stocks. So slip that over. Let's go ahead and throw some hardware in there. Now for my hardware, these are just big flat phased bolts. They got a little square piece right there, so I have to drill out this side more than the other. I'm sure one of you guys know what these are called. The rear of the stock is thicker, so I put a longer bolt in the rear. The Tikka T3x rifles are indeed filled with foam. So as you drill through it, if you start seeing foam, or it's styrofoam, don't be alarmed. It's supposed to be there. I'm sure that you could remove it if you felt it necessary. Let's see what we got going on here. There we go. And there we go. So now, hanging out of this side, all you gotta do is grab some wing nuts. And I got some big plastic wing nuts so that when I'm out in the field, I can quickly throw it on and off. My biggest issue with this is that when I have my Kydex cheek rest on, I cannot get my bolt in. The cheek rest stops me from doing it. Even if I slip it under, it doesn't allow the angle for it, and I can't quite get that bolt in. So when I'm out in the field, I actually do have to remove the cheek rest to get my bolt in completely. Now I'm fully aware this isn't the prettiest solution, but I found it to be a solution for raising my cheek pad up. For me, it cost nothing. I'm good friends with the guy who helped me make that plate, and just some hardware I had laying around, I was able to scrounge this thing up. Now my Tikka is more well fitted to me. That was one of my complaints in my original Tikka review, is that the cheek comb height was too low. So now I've raised it up in line with my scope, and then my shoulder pad sits good and firm in my shoulder, and this thing's ready for some more long range shooting. So let me know if you guys are going to try this, or just what you think of it. Like I say, I'm aware that it's just redneck, but you know what? It's a lot cheaper than buying a $680 chassis just to get some different shoulder pad comfort. So appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think below. Thanks. We'll talk to you guys later.